Hey there Internet, I am the PCGoblin. And in this video I'm going to be tearing apart the DG-76 and explaining why I hate this case so freaking much. So a little bit of background, I got this case for free when I bought a power supply last year, and it was kind of a nice fit because I needed some kind of case to put my wet bench in, so my wife had a PC to use, but she's no longer using this. She's been upgraded to my old PC, so here we are, tearing apart this free piece of garbage. So on the outside it looks great. It's got tempered glass on the side and then on the front. But the very first thing is, you may notice, is there is almost no ventilation that this case has on the front. It's basically a big choke point. So coming up to take a closer look, you can see here's the front panel. There's almost no gap between the front. All you have is these little channels right here on the right side or left side, depending on how you're looking at it. There's nothing on the other side. It's just a very poorly designed intake. Now that we've shown why that's so bad, I'm going to start taking the front panel off. Now that we're on the inside, we've got a dust filter to prevent very little dust because none can get in there in the first place. And it's pretty straightforward. You cannot put fans right here. This is where your dust filter goes. So when you're on the inside, you have to put your radiator if you're doing AIO or a custom loop, and then the fans on the outside of it, or the fans and then the radiator. So let's go ahead and get inside the case. Remove 4 more screws. Alright, now that we're in the case, I should be able to take the graphics card out, right? Well, wrong. I've got to turn it around, and I have to take out 4 more screws. Just real quick, I want to add those 4 screws, or 2 of those screws are what hold on the back side. Okay, so why did I have to take out those 4 screws? Well, there's 2 screws hidden underneath this. So pull this off. So you have to undo these 2 screws to take this plate off, because this is acting as a locking plate for your PCI bracket. So if you want to remove one of these fillers, you have to take this off. If you want to be able to get this out all the way, you have to take this off. So let's go ahead and take it off. Now that we have that removed, we can finally get our graphics card out, after you already taken out 6 screws. Now I've got another 2 screws, and they're not thumb screws. I've got to use a screwdriver to take these out as well. Now that we've got the back panel off, which also sucks because you have to remove 4 screws, take off the very back panel before you can get the side panel off. Upon removing the back of it, shows a pretty standard side panel of the case. It's nice that it's not clear on the other side because you can hide your cables behind it. There's a fair amount of room between the panel and the inside of this, so you can hide your cables in. There's plenty of room to work with. You've got room for 2 SSDs right here that it's got mounts for. It's got an open back for your motherboard, so you can easily attach an AIO or whatever cooler you want onto it. And then it's got a basement to hide your power supply and your cables underneath it, so that's good. Continuing on, there's room for a 360mm radiator up front, room for a 280 up top. You can also have a 280 up front as well. You can have 140 or 120mm fans up front, across the top. Getting to the top is kind of a pain. You have to pull up on your case, and it really doesn't feel like it's going to give without breaking. But here we're going to do it anyways. Boom. And here it reveals the top. And it comes with 3 of the cheapest fans I've ever seen in a case. They do work, they're noisy, but they don't work well. One last thing about this case before I go is just how crappy the power supply mount is. So we've got 4 screws, and that releases the power supply. But then you have the plate that you have to bolt onto it as well. Now for the power supply, you may like that because you can easily put this on and then slide it in. I personally like to have this be mounted to the case already, and then I just slide my power supply behind and then attach the 4 screws for the power supply to it, and it's good to go. But there's that. And it's also got a very, very cheap dust filter for the power supply. Alright, to summarize this case real quick, for $80 to $150 depending on where you buy it. If you get it from EVGA, it's $150, which is way too much for this case in my opinion. But you get a case that doesn't have very good airflow. It's got very cheap filter on the bottom for the power supply. It's not a very well thought out case. You have to take out a whole bunch of screws and panels just to do anything. For example, the graphics card, if you have to go in and troubleshoot it, it's 3 different panels. You got the side panel, you've got the back panel, and then you've got that little PCI panel that you've got to take off as well, just for you to get to the freaking graphics card. It's a huge headache if you have to get into it to do anything. It comes with cheap fans, so if you're going to want to put good fans in it, that adds to the cost of it as well. So really overall, if it was me, don't buy this case. If you got it for free like I did, well, it may or may not work for your situation, although anytime you have to get into it, you're not going to be happy with it. So I'm more than excited to be taking my stuff back out of it and putting it onto my wet bench where everything is easily accessible. But a wet bench isn't a good computer case. I'm just excited to have my wet bench back. Anyways, that's it for me. I'm done talking about this case. I'm going to finish pulling out my part. The rest of it's pretty basic, so I'm going to get going on that. But I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button. If you want to see more of my stuff, please subscribe to my channel below. And I'll see you next time, guys.